So guys, who can tell me what book of the Bible we've been in? Nice job, reading again. Point everybody. Okay. Yeah. All right. So guys, today our message is called The Painting. All right, now who here, out of curiosity, who here is really good at art?
Wow. That's cool to all of you.
Carly, you're like, I know you're an artist. Okay, Lydia, nice. Okay. I am not an artist.
Yeah, we know.
All right.
I'm a Fortnite player.
Wait, hear me out, guys. Hear me out. They say that often people are either like very like words oriented, like words, artistry, reading, or for more like logic, math, science.
Yeah.
They normally have one or the other brain. I'm more on this side. Like I love math. Like when I was bored, I didn't doodle. I counted. I did addition. I'm weird. I know. Yeah, I know. So, well, guys, but one time, all right, in high school, we had to do a self-portrait. Have you guys ever had to do a self-portrait before? Ever drawn that? Okay. Well, the first problem is that I look like this. All right. So that's the first. Just kidding. But the second problem is that I have to draw myself, and like you have like a mirror in front of you, and you're trying to like draw your face and the contours of like your cheeks and your mouth, yada yada. I wish I did, because it was really bad. You know, have you ever seen like the most wanted photos? It probably looked like a bad version of that. You know, like it was just not good. In fact, I drew myself cross-eyed on accident. I don't know. And I tend sometimes to exaggerate stories. But I don't know if this is true or not. I feel like it might be. But I think it might have been in like our school art fair. So, yeah. Oh no. Yeah. But have you guys ever seen like an artist where they're painting and you're like, I don't get it, and then all of a sudden it's done and it's like a masterpiece and you're like, whoa. You guys see this? Yeah. It's like the opposite of my skill. Yeah, so I have a short video for you, alright? It's from, you guys watch AGT, America's Got Talent? I think this must be like FGT, like France Got Talent or something. Because there's this awesome video of this girl who is an amazing painter, and I want you guys to watch it.
Me. Oh, Fortnite. That is terrible. That looks like my mom.
It's Stanley!
Oh, isn't he drawing that one president?
Oh no, he's drawing the guy right there.
Right there?
Yeah, that guy.
Who?
Ja, drück nicht, weil es mich geht.
Ja, ich will so niemals drücken, oder?
how's it going?
Hi, Jesus.
I'm not Jesus, actually. My name is Joseph. You can call me Joe Dog. Joe.
J Money.
How do they girls with to deal with this all the time? It's just kids.
Can I call you J Money?
I'm not joking.
Can I call you J Money?
So guys,
Can I call you J
so you
Money?
guys watched the video. What happened to her during what she was doing the art?
She got all that.
Red. She got 4 red buttons. Yes. Why? Why did she get 4 red buttons?
Because the
Because
job
he was
was
bad.
Because they didn't wait. They
They didn't have their patience.
Yes, they didn't wait. And I think that's our lesson for today, guys, is I wonder sometimes when we look at our life, if we see the little things, like the little scars, the marks, and we're like, oh, like that's what we're currently in, like this is all there is. And I wonder if God is using that to make a masterpiece like that. He's using our lives, the hard times, the good times, to make a masterpiece in our lives. So that's a little bit what we're going to be talking about today. And so this is the part where your points are on the line, all right? So I'm going to have you guys look up a verse. And the first person who finds the verse and stands up when it says like the first word of the verse is going to get points. So the verse is Genesis 45, verse 7. Genesis 45, verse 7. Yes. Nice job, Jocelyn. Good job. All right. You got it. Say it again one more time. I'm going to have you do it in the mic so everyone can hear you. There you go.
But God sent me ahead of you to preserve for you a remnant on earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance.
I don't think that's what it says up there.
It's a different translation, but yes, same thing. So the idea is that my life, we're going to go through my life here, guys, in a second, that it had a lot of ups and downs, to say the least. But at the end of it, I think I was able to kind of see how God was using all of this to push forward His plan and to save many people, many survivors. So before we do that, we need to review Genesis. So who remembers the book of Genesis begins with what story?
Creation.
Creation! That's the painting one. There you go. Yes! Creation. God painting Africa. Yes. And so the book of Genesis begins with creation. Well, he framed it. He's the designer of it. He didn't, not with a paintbrush. It's called a metaphor, Lydia. Okay. Yes. And so, Genesis 1, God creates the world. Right? Everything is perfect. He creates man and woman on day 6. There is no sin. Man and woman have a perfect relationship with God, with creation, with one another. But then we get to Genesis 3. And in Genesis 3, we see that man and woman decide, you know what? We're not going to follow God. In fact, I'm going to follow ourselves. And we think we're just as good as God, just as good as God. And so, we're going to disobey God. And so what do? They eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, the one thing God told them not to do. So they eat the fruit, right? And sin enters the world. Fast forward to Genesis 4. In Genesis 4, we see that it's gone from eating a piece of fruit to now murder because Adam and Eve's children, one named Cain, kills his brother Abel. Right? That happens. Yeah, I know. And sin gets so rampant in our world that by the time we get to Genesis 6, it says that God's heart is so grieved at the creation, at the world and what it's turned into. And so He decides to send a flood. But He saves one man and his family, and the guy's name is Noah. And He saves his and his whole family and 2 of every single animal. He kind of restarts the earth with them. And that's where we get this idea of covenant. Remember the covenant language we talked about? Yeah. So what is a covenant? Who can tell me?
Oh, I know.
Levi, tell me what a covenant is.
It's a long-term promise.
Long-term promise? Yeah. Nice job, buddy. Yeah. It's a long-term promise. It is a tying of God with humanity. Not that we deserved it, but God still decided to do it anyways. He ties Himself with humanity. So that's the first idea of covenant language. And so we jump from that, that's Genesis 6 through 9, and then we get to Genesis 12, and we meet these good old boys, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Oh yeah! Okay. So guys, this was like the fashion when I was like in middle school, high school. Just want to say, you guys are a lot more fashionable than we ever were. No.
That.
No. But we get this new covenant idea, and it starts with this man named Abraham. And God says, hey, I'm going to bless you, and I'm going to multiply you, and you're going to be a blessing to the nations, and you're going to be my people. And so Abraham's the first one with that promise. But then all of a sudden, it's given to his son Isaac, right? And Isaac continues to kind of be that bearer of that promise. And then it gets given to Jacob, and Jacob continues to bear that promise. And Jacob decides he's going to have a big old family, and so he has 12 kids.
Oh, yeah.
Yeesh.
Yeah, and you guys thought you had bad brothers and sisters. Yeah, 12 kids, and guess what? Who's one of them?
You!
This guy! Yeah. Show that big family over there, Jacob. This is a good demonstration of what my family might have looked like. There you go, the Duggars. Yeah. No, there's a bunch of kids, right? And guys, I was the 11th out of 12 kids. All right.
You actually were, or their character?
Joseph was. Joe. Mighty Joe Young over here. Yeah.
J Money.
J Money, J Dog. I was the 11th out of 12 kids. And so growing up, I always wanted to make my dad and mom really proud. You guys ever want to make your parents proud of you?
No.
Okay. I think a lot of you are lying. But yes, I really want to make my parents proud of me. And so I would do whatever they would ask, and I would sometimes telling my older brothers because they were doing things that were wrong. It didn't necessarily make them like me that much. I know.
Joe.
It's not necessarily
Joe.
Yeah.
Bradley snitchy.
But my father, he really liked me. All right. My dad really loved me, and so he decided that he was going to make me this amazing coat. All right. So a rainbow coat, yes, a coat of many colors. So this is what it is. I would have worn this, but I was only 17 when I got the coat, and this is years later, and so I can't fit it anymore. But that's okay. Yeah, so my dad gave me this amazing coat, and you guys ever had it at Christmas time when you get an amazing gift, or maybe your siblings get an amazing gift and you don't get that same amazing gift?
Yeah, exactly.
How do you feel in that moment?
I feel like I'm gay. I feel like I'm
Sad. You say Liz?
I feel like I'm not important.
Yeah, Annie, how do you feel? Angry. Yes. So, here's the thing, guys. Guys, here's the thing. I was the only one who got this jacket, right? And so my brothers constantly had to see me wearing this. And I think it's fair to say they got a little jealous of me. All right? So, a couple years go by, and guys, this is the crazy thing. I remember growing up, and I had these very vivid dreams. You guys ever have very vivid dreams? I'm Joe. What are you talking about? Yes. I had these very vivid dreams. And I remember one of these dreams, all right, that there were these 11 boughs of hay, right? And I had my bough of hay was in the middle. And then all of a sudden these other boughs of hay, there's 11 of them, they all bowed down to my bough of hay. And I don't know, it was weird. And I even had another dream. I had another dream where I was in the middle and there were 11 stars around me. All right, and then there was a sun and a moon, and they all bowed down to me. Yeah. And so I told my family about this, and they thought it was me trying to tell them that they were all going to bow down to me because there was 11 of my siblings, and then my mom and my dad, the sun and the moon, that they were going to bow down to me. And once again, they didn't really like me because of that, right? They don't like me for all the reasons. So one day, my dad sends me to kind of go spy on my brothers, right? They're shepherds, they're over in the countryside. He sends me to go spy on them. So I head over, and guys, I can't believe what happened. They threw me in a stinking pit.
Yay.
They threw me in a stinking pit, and I'm like, what the heck? You know?
I was there.
Yeah. And so, I'm in this pit.
I saw that.
And then all of a sudden they bring me out, and I'm like, real funny practical joke, guys. But they ended up selling me.
That's nice. Depression.
They sold me to these
Weirdos.
random guys.
How much?
20 shekels.
What?
20 shekels of silver.
At least you're famous.
But guys, I was taken away from my family, from my home, anything I've ever known, and brought to a whole other world with a different culture, culture, different language.
How much is money worth? What could you do?
Has your hair
Not a
all
lot,
like
yeah.
that?
And so,
So they basically got you.
and what happened, guys, is I was brought down to Egypt. There's a Sphinx. Yeah. And I was made to kind of be a servant in this guy's household. He was like one of the higher end officials of Egypt. So I guess I figured, I was like, well, I guess might as well try to make the most out of the horrible situation. So I worked really hard. And I do feel like God was like blessing me during this time. Like I just kept, everything I touched, it seemed like things were going really well. And my master, he kept giving me more and more responsibility. But then one day his wife started like winking her eyes at me. All right. And I was like, whoa, no. Like, no. And I was like, Joe, avoid the situation. This is not a good idea. Avoid it. Like, she wasn't consistent. So I was like, finally, I like ran away. Like, I can't do this. You're not gonna believe what she did. She lied and claimed that I took advantage of her. And so first I was imprisoned thrown in a pit and sold by my brothers. And now I was lied about and put in prison. Put in prison for years. And it was the worst. Like, every single day, I guess, I'm like, what did I deserve to do this? Like, what? Why did this happen to me? But time goes on, and once again, I guess I figured, like, hey, Joe, try to make the most out of a bad situation. So I keep working. Once again, so I kind of still feel like everything that I'm touching seems to be working out really well. Then all of a sudden, there's two guys, and they have dreams. So there's this one guy, he was actually he's like the old like cupbearer to the pharaoh himself, actually. So he was the one who like controlled and like actually brought the cup to the pharaoh. And he has this dream, and in this dream he says, "Hey, Joe, I had this cup in my dream, and I'm putting like grape juice into the cup, and I give it to Pharaoh. What does this dream mean?" So, and I truly believe this. I truly believe that what God was telling me was that this guy, this cupbearer, that he was going to be reinstated to his original position. That God was going to bring him back to that original position. But then there was this other guy. This other guy, he was a baker, a high-end baker for Pharaoh. And he had a dream that he had these like things of bread, right? These different loaves of bread. And all of a sudden these birds came and started eating the loaves. And he was hoping for a good interpretation of this dream as well, but I don't think that's what God was telling me. So I told him what I believed God was telling me, and it was that he wasn't going to get out of his prison. That Pharaoh was going to call him up and he was going to kill him. The sad thing is, both of those stories, at least with the baker, both those things came true. In 3 days, actually. But so I told the cupbearer, I said, hey, like, remember me when you go to Pharaoh. Like, remember what I did for you. He didn't remember. No. 2 years go by, still stuck in prison. And finally, out of nowhere, I get thrown in front of Pharaoh, and Pharaoh's like, hey, I have a dream for you. Totally thrown off guard. And Pharaoh has these two dreams, and one of them is he has this dream about these like 7 real fat cows. Yeah, kind of weird. 7 real fat cows, and then there's these 7 skinny cows, and the 7 skinny cows eat the fat cows, but they don't get any fatter themselves. They're just like nasty, scrawny cows. And then he says, oh, there's also this other part of it where there's like these 7 like big stalks of corn, and then these 7 like withery, nasty stalks of corn come up, and they eat the other corn. I don't know really how they ate them, but they ate the really good pieces of corn, but they didn't get any better. And he's like, Joseph, what does this mean? So once again, totally believing this is what God told me. Was that what God was saying was that there was going to be 7 years of abundance. Like in the land, God was going to bless this area. And there's going to be so much harvest, so much food. It's going to be amazing, fantastic. But then after those 7 years, there's going to be 7 years of harsh culture, harsh climate, not good food, and it's going to be kind of like a famine, a lot of starvation going on. So I prescribed to Pharaoh, I said, hey, put somebody in charge who can maybe like store up some of the good food during the good times so that when the bad times come, we actually have food and we'll be okay. So he says, what put you in charge? Puts me in charge. Yeah, I know, little me. Yeah, he puts me in charge. Yeah, there I am. There you go, right there.
Skylar.
Yeah.
I watched the shows but I thought they got along.
Yeah, no, I did pretty well for myself. Talk about 0 to hero. Take his place. They've changed. I can't believe it. Like, it was crazy. So I bust out. I bust out, and I was like, guys, like, I'm your brother. This is me. I'm Joe. And they're like, what? And I'm like, I know, right? It's me. And I said, hey guys, don't be angry with me. Don't be angry at yourselves. And this is where I get back to that original verse I had you guys look up. It says, God sent me ahead of you to keep you and your families alive and to preserve many survivors. God, they went through a lot. Right? I was sold. I was made to be a slave. I was put in prison. I was lied about. But God used all of it. He used all of it to save many people, save my brothers, to save nations, whole peoples. That's our God. He saves people. And He used me. And so guys, there's a couple things I learned about God, I think, through my life, through these different circumstances I went through. First, I learned that God uses the good times, but He also uses the bad times. He uses both of those to push forward His plans. I learned that God never leaves us, even when we're at our lowest. Even when we're in prison for multiple years, God never leaves us. He's always with us. And then I learned that God works all things for the good of those who love Him. Romans 8:28 says, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. That doesn't mean life is going to be easy. It doesn't mean that God's just going to give you every single thing you ever wanted. But what it does mean is that God's going to be with you. That God is a good Father. He wants to give good gifts to you as His children. So, if I were in 2021 talking to teenagers and preteens, what would I tell them? First of all, I would say, don't get caught up in your current circumstances. I think sometimes we only see a corner of the painting. We only see the hardship, where God might be designing a masterpiece. Don't get caught up in the little circumstances. Be able to take a step back and say, hey, God, what are you doing here? And then secondly, know that God is with you. Hard times, good times, He is with you and He loves you. Right. God, Lord, we thank you, Lord, that you are a God who is with us. You're a God who doesn't leave us, but you're a God that wants to walk alongside of us in our good times, but also in our bad times. And God, I just pray for these students right here, that God, that they would know that you are close, that they would know that you love them, that you care for them, and that God, that your grace, what you did on the cross by sending Jesus, that was enough for them. So God, I just pray, Lord, that you would be real to them today. God, be their Savior, be their God.